This is the 2021 facelifted Audi Q7. So what, I hear you cry? That thing arrived 12 months ago. You could get it in 45 TDI, 50 TDI and 50 TDI S-Line. Who cares? We already know about it. Well, if I'm honest, I didn't know about this, you didn't know about this, but late last year, Audi slipped a little joker into the all-diesel, all-the-time Q7 launch and gave us a petrol. It's the 55 TFSI. So, because it was a bit of a surprise, me, my lockdown here and you, we're going to go through the Audi Q7 55 TFSI.
And cut.
Oh, while I've got you, why don't you make this middle-aged old man happy by whacking that subscribe button and hitting the bell button. If you hit subscribe and the bell, every time we put a new video up on the channel, you'll hear about it straight away. You can't have one without the other. And if you like the video, hit the like button and get down there in the comments and get amongst it. Because if there's one thing I've learned about being on YouTube all these years, someone always says something really entertaining in the comments. And if nothing else, we love you watching. The more you do, the more we get to do these. Anyway, on with the show. At $122,500, it's not cheap, but it is a lot of car. 55 TFSI, that means it's got a 3-litre twin-turbo V6 with 48-volt mild hybrid under the bonnet instead of the 3-litre turbo diesel V6. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But because it's the S-Line, it does share the same spec with that slightly cheaper diesel. You've got the Matrix LED headlights, they are awesome, and the new grille. Together, the lights and the grille, they give the Q7 a little bit more character. On the S-Line, you get bumpers front and rear that are exclusive to S-Line, and this one has been de-blinged with the black exterior pack, which is about $14.50 as an option. I quite like the de-blinging, but if you like a bit of silver accents around your car, just stick with that. Right, down the side here, we've got these massive 21-inch alloys wrapped in a hell of a lot of Pirelli P0 rubber, 285/40s. That is a lot of tyre, but you know, good, it's a big car, heavy car too. Metallic paint. Now, there's a bit of a problem here, I think so anyway. There's only one free colour with the Q7 and it's black. Don't get a black car. So for $2,300 you can have metallic paint. That seems like a lot of money on a $122,000 car already, but anyway, what do I know? It is a beautiful colour, I'll give it that. Now you can't see it, but under here, air suspension. That's a really useful addition on a big car like this. Makes it feel just a lot plusher, but it also means it doesn't have to be super soft and wallowy. With the S-Line, you also get this blade down the side here. You can't really see it because it's black on the blue, but without the black pack, it's silver. Subjective choice, of course. Another thing you can't see is the all-wheel steer. For $2,750, you've got this thing which makes the car feel way smaller. This is 5 meters. It doesn't look it. It's a big car. So what you get with all-wheel steering is it makes the turning circle much smaller, much easier to maneuver, and at high speed it gives you a lot more stability. Now that is an option I would definitely get. As the name slyly suggests, the Q7 is a 7-seater. It doesn't really look like it though, does it? It kind of looks like a, well, it looks like a 5-seater, but it is a 7-seater, which is good because it's 5 meters long. Getting into the back isn't terribly difficult. What's really nice is that when you pull this up, it's on a gas strut, which makes it really easy, so you don't have to be He-Man to get it done. But from here on in, it's not great. So climbing in is a bit, you know, tricky. Now I'm not pretending this is meant for people my height, but I'm just showing you what it's like. And then you might lose a toe if you're not careful. And then, yeah. Help. So now I'm in, you can see it's pretty tight. Headroom's pretty marginal. Knee room, actually, if I do this, you can see I'm right hard up against that. You can slide these forward a little bit, but really, these are occasional seats, so don't bank on this being a row you can use a lot. Foot space is a little bit tight. I mean, yes, I have big feet, but yeah, again, smaller kids aren't going to be super happy. It does have cup holders back here and a little tray. And there are 2 ISOFIX points and 2 top tether points. But yeah, it's a bit tight. Yeah, can I get out now? Here in the middle row, I've escaped mine back there. This is much better. It's so comfortable, and you knew this was going to be comfortable. Heaps of foot room, heaps of knee room, 6 feet tall. I'm sitting behind where I drive, tons and tons of room. What's more, there's a lot here for the rear seat passenger. You've got air vents both here and here. You've got your own climate controls, so it's a 4-zone climate control car. You've also got 2 USB-C ports, so remember to buy the right cables. And you've got a 12-volt port. I hate those things, they're ugly. Please stop using them. Bottle holders in the doors. You've got an armrest with cup holders. Now, these look a bit small, so... Oh, a colleague has thoughtfully left an empty coffee cup behind for me to test them. So they look, oh no, there we go. No, they do fit. Okay, well that's all right then. But you won't get a water bottle in there, at least not a normal one. Anyway, find a bin for that later. Yeah, just really comfortable, and this leather's really nice, the Valcona leather, and yeah, you'll be very comfortable in the back seat here, or whoever you stick here. Oh, and that's the other thing. You can move the seats forward like this, so forward and back, so you can tune the space back to forward, or if you need the kids a bit closer to you so you can strike them. I mean, comfort them in their hour of need. So here we are in the front. Let's get the important stuff out of the way first. These seats are fantastic. They are so comfortable. They look great and they are great. And here in the S-Line, you get these really nice S-Line stitching and embossing. It's nice. Lovely materials. And it's so techno-laden. You've got 3 screens, 12.3 inches for the virtual cockpit. It's configurable, shows you all kinds of information. It's really, really good. It's one of my favorite digital dashes actually, because it actually does things rather than just show you a digital version of dials. Here in the middle, you've got the 2 screens. You've got 10.1 inches for the MMI. You also get sat-nav in here and MMI Plus, which hooks you up with all sorts of Google services. Very, very nifty. And you've got the 8.6 inch screen here, which is mostly about the climate control. I'm not always a big fan of cars that get rid of physical controls, but Audi does meet you halfway with haptic feedback. So if you've got one of the more modern phones, you know that when you press the screen hard enough, you will get a physical reaction, and that's what haptic feedback is. So it does mean you can kind of learn to use the screen without having to look at it. That's quite handy. The stereo is bonkers. It's 19 B&O speakers and 730 fully hectic watts. That is a lot of power. I mean, I know you can get much more powerful stereos than that, but that's plenty. It has USB Android Auto, and there are 2 USB-C ports in here to do that. So again, remember to have the right cables. There's also wireless charging, and you get wireless Apple CarPlay, which is very handy. So you just put the phone in, it's charging and also doing its thing here on the screen. Big fan of wireless Apple CarPlay. I'm sure, like other brands, wireless Android Auto is coming soon. Really nice materials, you know, cup holders there, place to put the key. I do like when they remember to do that. And also Audi has resisted the urge to put one of those silly flat bottom steering wheels in. So look, there's no such thing as a bad Audi cabin. I can't think of an Audi cabin that isn't any good. Even the older A3 and Q2 interiors are still really nice and have aged really well, and this one's going to age well. Oh, and there is one thing I really like about this cabin. Again, I've got an air vent fetish, obviously. The air vents here at the front go all the way across, and you can select a diffuse air option, so you get this kind of nice breath of air rather than wah. And bringing it all together is this huge panoramic sunroof, which floods the cabin with light and makes it feel even bigger. Whew, that was a lot. I'll tell you what else is a lot. The cargo capacity. Here at the back, you've got one of these handy foot wavy, gestury things to open the electric tailgate. There we go. You always look like a lunatic when you're trying to get an Audi open. They all do it really. Now, with the 3rd row in play, you actually have a useful amount of space here. Audi won't tell us exactly how much, but it's probably between 200 or 300 litres. So if you've got a small hatchback, that's about the same. Now, you can drop the middle row electrically, which I think is really funny. And even the little headrest drop down. Now, when that's down, 750 litres. That is an absolute crap ton of space. That's a lot of space. And then, if you get the middle row out of the way, you have over 2,000 litres. If you want to carry more than that, I can't help you. Buy a van. It's a lot. You've got to love Audi's engine lineup. In petrol, you can get 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 2 of those, 8 and 10 cylinders. That's just a bit of trivia for you. This is a 3-litre twin-turbo petrol V6 with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. Now this is the V6 that's got the two twin scroll turbos jammed into the middle of the V so that they're really close to the exhaust ports so that they spin up really, really quickly. The 48-volt mild hybrid system, there's a belt alternator starter on the front here which sends juice to the battery in the back, and that cuts fuel use by about 0.7 of a litre, so the official combined cycle figure for this car is 9.4 litres per 100 k's, and yes, it does like the good stuff. And it also means it cuts out earlier, that kind of thing, but it can also give you a little of 60 Newton meters of torque when the battery's full and the conditions are right. A little bit of more engine trivia for you. Being an Audi, it's quattro all-wheel drive, and that is fed by an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. I can't think of a better transmission on earth, and here in the Q7, it's excellent as always. The Q7's extensive safety equipment list includes 8 airbags, the usual braking and traction systems, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, driver attention detection, around view cameras, and forward AEB with pedestrian detection. If you want to know more about the safety gear, be sure to read Kurt's full written review on the Wheels website. The link is in the description. Right, so here we are with the annoying news. Audi, like BMW, is still sticking with the 3 years unlimited kilometre warranty. That's not awesome. Pleasingly, however, you can prepay your servicing for 5 years. It's $3,410 over 5 years, which averages out at $682 per service for the first 5 services. That's a fair chunk of change, but it's a massive, complicated car, and this figure includes things like brake fluid, filters and spark plugs. Not all service plans are created equal, so it's worth checking the small print on these things. Now, I've driven a number of this second generation Q7 in diesel, a whole bunch of them, including the bonkers SQ7, which is a V8 twin turbo, well, triple turbo diesel really. And one of the things that kind of surprised me is that it didn't feel at first that much different to the diesel. The diesel is really smooth. It does have quite a quick pickup on the torque, so you kind of go to get going. But it's a very drivable engine, that V6. Now this petrol V6 is out of the Q8. So Q8 owners at first could only buy a 55 TFSI. It took me a while to get in tune with this engine, but my goodness, it really does suit this car. And like, honestly, the only thing I don't like about it is the fact that it's not all the way through the range. So you can't get a non-S-Line version and save yourself 10 or 15 grand. And that's a bit of a shame really, but it's a great engine. It's got tons of torque. So it's got the same torque as the 45 TDI, which is 500 Newton meters, but way more power than the 50 TDI. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here. You're getting plenty of torque, but plenty of power as well. Now, if you don't like diesel, this is obviously the choice for you, because a number of this car's rivals doesn't really have a petrol alternative, which is a shame because those rivals tend to have really nice petrol engines. This thing rides on air suspension, which means it's so comfortable, but it also means that it corners, and I like that. I mean, just because you've got a big car, it doesn't mean you have to wallow all over the show. So, you know, having that air suspension means that it can have a bit more say in how the car rolls and pitches, and if you do want to, you know, get into it a bit, and on a road like this, you can, and you can enjoy it. You know, that's something really, really nice about it. What the S-Line also has is an active rear diff, which means that when you are having a bit of fun, the rear is there to help you rather than just with an open diff. So it's an active electronic diff, limited slip diff. So yep, if you do want to take these 21-inch alloys with Pirelli P0s off-road, it's not going to be terrible. I really like the mild hybrid system in this. It's pretty much seamless. It cuts out really early as you're coming into a stop, so around about 20 kilometers an hour it will cut out, but because it's 48 volts, it's got plenty of juice to keep everything going, so you don't get degraded air conditioning or anything like that. The all-wheel steering in this car is epic. All-wheel steering is really handy in a big car because in slower corners, what it does is it effectively shortens the wheelbase by turning the rear wheels in the opposite direction, which means you get a really tight turning circle. This thing is, I know I've said it before, but it is over 5 meters long. That is it's a lot. And so being able to maneuver this car like a much smaller car, it just makes it easier to live with. At high speed, it also means that when you're doing lane changes, particularly sudden ones, because some clown's done something in front of you, the car is really, really stable. And of course, added to all of that, you got all the amazing safety gear that Audi packs into these things. So yeah, it is a great thing. The downside to the petrol is it does want the good stuff because it's twin turbos and it's compression ratios and it makes a lot of power and torque. So look, you're not going to see 9 point whatever it is litres per 100 k's. You're just not. Maybe if you're super careful, but this has been with me for a few days now. It's done a few miles, about half highway, half urban, and it's up around the 13 litres per 100 k's. So not terrible, but not great. It does. You can't get away from the fact that it's a fair way into 2 tonnes as well. Even though there's a lot of aluminium in this chassis, it's just a heavy car, and eventually you will feel that. But it is absolutely packed with tech, but the tech doesn't get in the way of the driving experience, which I quite like. And the ride is just plush as anything, and even when you're in sport mode, super plush. And all the electronics are really easy to use, and I really like that. MMI is great. You can ask it questions. The screen's all really nice, bright. Even in direct sunlight, you can still see everything on the screens. You know, when you're paying $122,500 for a car, you have very high expectations, and I really honestly think this car does meet them. And like, this car's getting on a bit. It's been with us since 2015, 2016. This new front architecture here, it really just brought it bang up to date with just that simple change. But you know, and the car has just gotten better and better and better over the years. And look, if I was a betting man, and I am not, but if I was a betting man, I would put decent money, 20, 30 cents, because I'm not a betting man, on the fact that there's going to be more petrol in both the Q7 and Q8 lineups. And you know, if you look at Europe, the SQ7 and SQ8 are now available in petrol, and I wouldn't be surprised if those cars make their way here. And in fact, I think that would make them very good cars, as the petrol option has here in the 55. So yeah, I really like this car. No, it's not a hot hatch, but with that all-wheel steer option, that does, you know, it kind of does make the car feel a bit smaller. But at its core, this is a really comfortable, really nice car to spend time in. You can absolutely crush the miles in this. The only big difference between it and the TDI is really going to be how many fuel stops you make on a really long journey. But you got to stop anyway, and you've probably got kids in the back who are probably sick of it by the time you get to the end of the driveway. Not a lot to complain about, which is just as well given the price. Putting a petrol engine in the Q7, well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why didn't I think of it? Well, I don't work for Audi. That's their choice to make. It's smooth, it's powerful, it's comfortable. Yeah, it's a little bit on the pricey side, but you get all the fun of electrification, and it is a pretty properly stocked specification list. Thanks so much for watching. As always, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell button, make sure you get down into the comments, and if you liked it, press like. We'll see you again soon. That kind of ended abruptly. Let me just double check that. I'm going to do all of that again. They're 21 inch. Glad I saw that.
Sorry,
You're right. Hang on, is the hair silly?